This is the AB4WS radio show. Every week, bringing you the exciting amateur radio news and information happening in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana areas.
The AB4WS radio show can be found on the Apple Podcast app or your favorite podcast application. How often have you heard that ham radio is an old man's hobby? And others agree with that statement. Well, I, for one, have seen a lot of growth in the amateur radio in segments of the population that would not be described as old men. I've been hearing a lot more female voices on the air, and at least in the northern Kentucky area, I'm seeing a lot of youths being interested in amateur radio. The Youth on the Air program in camp seems to be growing by leaps and bounds. The Dixie Heights High School Amateur Radio Club has been growing the last several years, and lots of interest in the Scouts on the Air program. And now, a couple of young men have gotten together to create a new KOTA. COTA. Yes, following the successful programs like Youth on the Air, Summits on the Air, Parks on the Air, Jackson Mettler, K6KUK, and Colin Holdsworth, K0NNK, are commencing on starting COTA. Yes, Kids on the Air. They define COTA as a program for the youth in the world to hand out and do COTA activations similar to POTA, but looking on creating a league mainly for school and college amateur radio clubs to compete in competitive contests similar to the ARRL School Roundup, but instead have more lengthy and frequent schedule in order to encourage operation and involvement in the hobby from all generations, but primarily targeting youth operators, paving the way for the next generation of ham radio operators. They're working on creating COTA contests, get local clubs involved, and license their organization as an amateur radio organization in both the United States and Australia. They're working on creating a 501c3 organization in order to accept donations for funding, creating a digital reflector or talk group for use to talk on. A website is currently on k0nnk.com/KOTA, but will soon be moving to a kidsontheair.org website. They also have a Discord channel. Colin is quite the young entrepreneur. I saw a YouTube video on his YouTube channel where he showed how he made and how to use a dual-channel digital voice hotspot that he makes and sells. I was so impressed by this that I purchased one of the hotspots he is selling, and it works great. These two realize that they still have a lot more work to do, and it's not something that can be built overnight. Stay tuned and watch for the development of the Kids on the Air program. Speaking of newcomers to the hobby, did you check out the first return of the Newcomers and Elmer's Net on the 146.67 repeater on Sunday evening, January 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time? If not, you missed a lot of great information.
This is K4PKM with the Newcomers Net. Let me see if we have any additional check-ins for the net before we continue. All right, not hearing anything additional, we'll get right back to it. Talking about how to participate in nets. And if you're uncertain about how to kind of announce yourself in a net you've never checked in before, one of the simplest ways you can do that is just identify yourself as a newcomer to the net by saying something like, "This is my first time checking into the net." And I can just about guarantee you folks will be happy to have you there. And they'll kind of guide you through anything you might need to know. And there may be ways in which they tell you how you're going to be called for comments and so forth. But believe me, they will be happy that you're there. And one of the things I would point out is it's like what I ask when I ask for check-ins here, to spell out your name phonetically for clarity. And that's usually a good idea any time that you can. Now, if you notice that on the net no one else is doing that, well, then you follow their conventions, and again, that's why we listen. But if the folks don't spell out their name phonetically, you don't have to, and you can wait for the net control operator to ask you to repeat your call if the operator needs to hear clarification. But most nets have folks use phonetics. It really just makes things go more smoothly and clearly. And so if you're new to doing that, I really encourage you to practice your call in phonetics so that you can get used to it. And if you find that you're checking in right at the beginning of the net, maybe it's a club net, etc., you basically will just follow the pattern of what other people are doing with giving your call, giving it phonetically, your name and location, and then you'll wait on the net control person to call on you for comments or questions or information.
Robert Gully, K4PKM, has brought back the classic Newcomers and Elmer's Net on the first and third Sunday evenings of the month at 7 p.m. on the 146.670 repeater with a PL tone of 123.0. This net ran for many years and was one of the most popular nets in the greater Cincinnati area, providing some Sage Elmer experience to newer ham radio operators, delivered and moderated by the master, K4PKM. I highly encourage you to check out the Newcomer and Elmer's Net for some interesting ham radio information. The Gateway Amateur Radio Club will now be meeting on the second Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. at the Firehouse at 225 Oak Grove Drive in Mount Sterling, Kentucky. For more information, go to garc-ky.org. The Brunch Bunch will be meeting on January 13th at 1 p.m. at the West Shine Family Restaurant, 3245 Westbourne Drive in Green Township, Ohio. Come on in and join them in the fun. In Anderson County, Kentucky area, a group of amateur radio operators invite you to meet them at 8 a.m. on the second Saturday of each month, this time on January 13th at the Dairy Queen in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, where they'll discuss a wide variety of amateur radio topics and wander off to discuss other topics of interest as well. A great social event. The MONIX North Group will meet on January 13th at 6 p.m. at the Donato's Pizza, 7912 Paragon Road in Centerville, Ohio. On January 13th at 11 a.m., the Emergency Disaster and Communications Corps, along with the Bluegrass Amateur Radio Society, will have a severe winter weather exercise at the Bars Club Shack at the American Red Cross, 1450 Newtown Pike in Lexington, Kentucky. They encourage all attendees to bring their favorite HT amateur radio to learn how to program the radio using the faceplate of the radio, so that if they're called upon to provide communications for an emergency event, they'll be comfortable with their own equipment. They'll also review what groups will need our communication skills in an emergency, discuss the importance of being able to provide accurate boots-on-the-ground field weather reports to the Fayette County EOC, the National Weather Service, and Kentucky Emergency Management. They'll also discuss the importance of being ready for a potential power loss during a winter storm and the emergency communications plan. The Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club will be meeting on January 15th at the Bethesda Community Church, 989 East Mount Zion Road in Independence, Kentucky. For more information, go to k4co.org. On January 15th, the Lake Cumberland Amateur Radio Association will be meeting at 7 p.m. at Steve KK4YUG QTH at 45 Crabapple Lane in Somerset, Kentucky for the monthly hands-on LCARA meeting conducting hands-on training on the LCARA crossband repeaters featured on several of the club's YouTube videos being used in the upcoming McCreary Gravel Rally. On January 19th, the Anderson County Amateur Radio Club will hold their meeting at 7 p.m. at the Anderson County Extension Office at the Anderson Community Park in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. At the meeting, they'll introduce the new leadership team, which is excited to provide the members with a great amateur radio experience. January 20th is the Ohio Aries VHF contest, which is open to all operators starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Time and ending at 4 p.m. Communications will take place on 2 meters, 6 meters, 70 centimeters, FM, as well as simplex digital voice contacts. For the rules or to register, go to ohsimplex.org. January 27th to 28th is the Winter Field Day. The Bluegrass Amateur Radio Society will be setting up camp at the Kentucky Horse Park, 4089 Ironworks Parkway in Lexington, Kentucky. The Okayan Amateur Radio Society will be setting up at the Harvest Home Barn, 3961 North Bend Road in Cheviot, Ohio. The Moorhead Amateur Radio Society will be holding Winter Field Day at the State Fire Commission Building, 99 Lake Park Drive in Moorhead, Kentucky.
Do you know where the action's at?
Ever hear anybody say, "Why should I study and get my extra class license? I have enough frequency privileges already." Well, the incentive to get your extra class license is to get in on Where the Action Is on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on 3778 kilohertz for the NM4A Northern Kentucky Greater Cincinnati area 80-meter roundtable net. Every Sunday night at 9 p.m., a group of extra class operators fire up their HF rigs for some good old-fashioned HF Frag Chew roundtable for some interesting conversation, comments, ideas, and fun. So get to studying that extra class license and take that test and come join in on the fun every Sunday night at 9 p.m. on 3778 for Where the Action Is.
Repeater news.
Sam, W9SAM, reports that the 224.720 KBHCSL now supports Echolink connectivity.
Hamfests.
On January 14, 2024, is the Sunday Creek Amateur Radio Federation Hamfest at the Shade Community Center, 2380 Old US 33 in Shade, Ohio. For more information, contact KC8QDQ. On March 10, 2024, the Northern Ohio Amateur Radio Society brings in Winter Hamfest at the Lorain County Community College, 1005 North Abbey Road in Elyria, Ohio. On March 16, 2024, the Sevierville County Amateur Radio Society sponsors the 2024 Sevierville, Tennessee Hamfest at the Sevier County Fairgrounds, 754 Old Knoxville Highway in Sevierville, Tennessee. On March 17, 2024, is the Toledo Mobile Radio Association Hamfest and Computer Fair at the Owens Community College, 30335 Oregon Road in Perrysburg, Ohio.
Are you looking to upgrade your license? Do you have someone else that's interested in the hobby? Here are some upcoming exam opportunities.
The Cuyahoga Falls Amateur Radio Club will once again offer online classes to pass the FCC General Class exam. Classes will be held via Zoom on 6 Sunday afternoons from 1:30 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. First class will start on January 14th. The classes are free and available to all interested hams with technician class licenses or studying to complete their technician class license by the end of the classes. Class materials will be distributed via Google Classroom, and the suggested book is the General License Course Study Guide 2023 to 2027 edition, available from hamradioschool.com. For more information, go to tiny.cc/BEHAMG. General license classes are being offered via Zoom starting on Saturday, February 10, 2024. They'll meet each Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to about noon Eastern Time. They'll discuss all 10 sub-elements by April 13th and have a review on April 20th, and then conduct an official exam on April 27th in Heath, Ohio. For more information, contact Earl Pazig, W8BR, at 740-504-1950. A free weekly live amateur radio extra class licensing course will be on Zoom and begin on Thursday, January 18, 2024, and run through Thursday, March 28th. There'll be 11 sessions. The 3-hour sessions will start at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Sessions will be recorded. Those attending should hold or be studying for a general class amateur radio license. These are classes that have been held for many years, sponsored by the National Electronics Museum. If you wish to sign up, you should email Roland, Roland, .Anders, ANDERS, at Comcast.net. The Milford Amateur Radio Club holds amateur radio testing on the third Thursday of each month at 6 p.m. at the Miami Township Civic Center, 6101 Meyer Drive in Milford, Ohio. Please pre-register at milfordhamradio.org. The Dayton Amateur Radio Association has exams frequently. For their exam schedule, email exams.w8bi@gmail.com. On January 13, 2024, at 10 a.m., there'll be an amateur radio license exam session sponsored by the Westchester Amateur Radio Association at the Voice of America Museum, 8070 Tylersville Road in Westchester, Ohio. Please pre-register at hamstudy.org/sessions/WC8VOA. On January 13, 2024, at 10 a.m., there'll be an amateur radio testing session at the Clark County Emergency Operations Center, 200 Maryland Drive in Winchester, Kentucky. Please pre-register at hamstudy.org/sessions/AC4YD. For more information, contact Darrell Epperson, AC4YD, at 859-771-1834. On January 19th at 6 p.m., there'll be an amateur radio license examination session at the Anderson County Extension Office at the Anderson County Community Park in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. On January 23rd, 2024, at 6 p.m., there'll be an amateur radio testing session at the Anderson County Extension Building. Use the rear entrance, lower level, at 1026 County Park Road in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. For more information, contact Brian Carter, KI4TLW, at 502-545-0376. On January 27, 2024, at 10 a.m., there'll be an amateur radio testing session sponsored by the Wilderness Road Amateur Radio Club at the American Legion Post number 46 at 45 Spears Lane in Danville, Kentucky. Please pre-register at hamstudy.org/sessions. For more information, contact Carol Miller, AF6MB, at 541-602-6535. On January 27, 2024, the Moorhead Amateur Radio Society will sponsor an amateur radio exam session at noon at the State Fire Commission Building, 99 Lake Park Drive in Moorhead, Kentucky. On February 3rd, the Lake County Amateur Radio Association will be sponsoring an amateur radio testing session at noon at the Kirtland Library, 9267 Chillicothe Road in Kirtland, Ohio. For more information, contact Scott Farnham, KO80 at 440-256-0320, or email him at scottfarnham@roadrunner.com. The Western Kentucky DX Association will sponsor an amateur radio license testing session on February 4th, 2024 at 2 p.m. at the Woodman Life Building, 519 Old Morgantown Road in Bowling Green, Kentucky. For more information, email Henry, W4HTB at W4HTB@IEEE.org, or call him at 270-793-4822. On February 10th, 2024, at 10 a.m., the Bluegrass Amateur Radio Society will be giving an amateur radio license exams at the Red Cross Building, Classroom A, 1450 Newtown Pike in Lexington, Kentucky. Please pre-register at hamstudy.org/session/KE4MAI. For more information, contact Fernie Williams, KE4MAI, at 859-536-3393. On February 10, 2024, at 10 a.m., there'll be an amateur radio license exam session sponsored by the Westchester Amateur Radio Association at the Voice of America Museum, 8070 Tylersville Road in Westchester, Ohio. Please pre-register at hamstudy.org/session/WC8VOA. On March 9, 2024, at 10 a.m., there'll be an amateur radio license exam session at the Georgetown Police Department, 550 Bourbon Street in Georgetown, Kentucky. Please pre-register at hamstudy.org/session/WX4GPS. For more information, contact Ron Malinowski, WX4GPS at 502-542-8252. Special thanks to this week's content contributors, WB8YYS, KD8ZLD, K9HIO, N8LAR, K4NKU.
If you have something you think other amateur radio operators in the area would be interested in, send the information or your recorded audio file attached in an email to ab4ws.radio@gmail.com.
Covering your amateur radio news and information in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana area, this is Jack Prindle, AB4WS in Big Bone, Kentucky.